online, you can. There we go, there you are, and there's Sandra. So, hello everybody, and officially welcome to Evolve. Last week was a bit of an opportunity to share some of the law of clarity. I think you all watched that, or were part of that, and so now we're part of the program, the people that are dedicated to actually getting to grips with all this amazing content and getting to know it, which is you guys and quite a few others that will be coming online just now. So welcome, and it really is a privilege and an honor to share this space with you. I'm just going to share my screen and bring up the presentation for tonight, and then we can work from there. So given that it's a much smaller group, and like I said, there are some others that are going to be joining us as we carry on, is the recording does happen. I think you've all got access to the portal system. Sandra has sent it to you this evening, so you can go on, and every week after each module, all the stuff that I talk about and some of the additional stuff and the cards and everything will all be in that portal. So you'll have access to this content for life. You'll be able to go and watch it again and listen again, and do the meditations again, etc., etc. So all of that is there. So tonight we are working on the law of flow. And given that it's a much smaller group, the intention is that there's a lot more opportunity for interaction. There's a lot more opportunity for you to ask questions, to share your perspectives, to give me input around what's going on for you. So feel free to do that. You can use the chat box to do that, or you're more than welcome to just kind of put up your hand. So if you look at the participants thing, there's a raising hand thing. Otherwise, just switch on your microphone and just say hey and give me your name, and then we can have a question or any of those things that come up for you. So maybe we can start off just in the chat box. You can just say hi to everybody and just kind of give a sense of the mood you're in tonight. What would be a word that you would use to describe your mood tonight? So you can do that in the chat box very quickly. Just say hi. My mood tonight is, so hello Nikki, come online. There's a couple of others that'll be joining us. Glad you're there, and supper's all made. So we've just started, so I said in the chat box, just come and say hi and give one word or a very short description of your mood this evening, how you find yourself. So trying to find the chat box, you can do that. Just let me know how you're all doing tonight as we start here. Let's just see where you're at. There's Nikki saying hello. Sandra, relieved cards and time for me. I'm sure it's quite hard. Many of us are battling to find this me time. It's strange being at home and we can't find me time. Hey, perfect. Angela, I'm calm and tired. Oh, good. Okay, let's just see from Cheryl and Nikki, it might be easier for you just to say it than to type it. All right, Cheryl, do you want to just speak, my love? Just go off mute and you can see. Nikki, you've had some fun. So Cheryl, you're more than welcome to just unmute yourself and then you can speak.
Unmute. There we go.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
I'm Cheryl Royam. I live in Cape Town. I am a first century spiritual practitioner.
I love that.
Years, and been a businesswoman, and now coming back in and enjoying this very much indeed.
Oh, good. And how are you feeling tonight? What's one word that describes how you're doing tonight?
I would say the best word is variable.
Variable. That's a good word. It's a good word. All right. So the law of flow. Last week we had the law of clarity, and as I said, that was very different because there were 40 or 50 odd people on the call. So there was a lot more me just presenting, but this is going to be a lot more interactive. And as we start to go into Evolve, I shared with you all last week where the inspiration from the dragonflies came from, and how the dragonflies have really brought forward this perspective and have asked to share a lot of different thoughts around these various laws that we work with. And the intention of sharing these spiritual laws is, as I said before, it's not about having something new to comply with. Think of this as like enriching your toolbox. So the best way that I can think of this is like trying to have sort of like a toolbox for navigating life. If I had this way of knowing what tool to use for what, then I'd be able to explore things differently, create differently, relate differently, and do all of these things. So the idea behind the laws is to introduce you or reintroduce you, and in many ways sometimes just remind you of some of the things that are deeply intuitive knowings. So there is a part of you, there is a part of your spirit that will always resonate with what comes forward in the laws. And it's an important part of allowing yourself to get over our resistance to ease, our resistance to things being more natural, because the laws always bring us back to what is natural, what is the path of least resistance, so to speak. When we talk about the law of flow, it's something we're going to talk about tonight. In terms of each module, so we've got 11 laws over and above the law of clarity that we're going to be going through. If you have a look at Diana Cooper's book, it's called, can't remember the name of the book, but some of you will have it. She talks about 36 laws that are available to us on Earth. There are many, many teachings and readings from different people about the numbers of law. These 11 are the ones that have been presented to me as a starting point to this program. And I say as a starting point because I fully it seems to feel already like there's this desire for them to bring forward more. So at this point, we're going through these 11 laws that are quite apt and useful to us to start using as tools in our life right now, especially with the way the world is shifting, with the ascension that's happening, with the transition that everybody's going through, and with the chaos that many of us find ourselves in. It's all finding the sort of eye of the storm, so to speak, and allowing ourselves to move there. So each module, what will be happening is, and each of these experiences, every week's experiences, and some week there's more of a break in between, is we'll be doing a couple of things. I'll be introducing you to some thoughts about the law. I'll be taking you through some tools or exercises that we can practice on the call, and tonight we're going to be doing one where you can practice your own awareness. So there's a reflective and an insight component to this. And then I will always introduce you to some spiritual tools, which will include a meditation by a specific being of light. So there will always be a meditation as part of the calls. And then whichever crystals are relevant for this law, so to work with those crystals, or anything else that they present to me as something to be of value. So there's quite a richness from that perspective. And then obviously there's the card that it relates to. And I am looking to get the cards reproduced. I know Cheryl is very, very, very eager to get the cards. So the dragonfly cards will be available for you to start working with and to use. I just presume getting that all sorted out well in the process of doing that. So how do you get the most from this course? I suppose I could ask you the question of what do you need to do to get the most from this course? Like any spiritual practice, like any spiritual teaching, like anything you've done in your path of growth before, it's pointless learning about it if there's no application of it. So the way that you could probably get the most from this course is to take something from each week and look at how you could make that a practice or a ritual or a process or something that you do in your own time to integrate it. So if we had a look at the law of clarity last week, which I'm going to, we'll have a little bit of chat about it, is how do you integrate some of that and reflect on it and really translate it from something being interesting to something being useful and meaningful for you in your life. And so as each week progresses, and that's why I suggested on the email I sent earlier that it could be a really good idea to just want to make sure that this is recording, because I did send record, that there's something that you reflect in. It is recording. Let me just do one thing at a time, because otherwise it gets all confusing, doesn't it? Just do this, sorry. Now it's gone to here. Is to have a journal, is what I was suggesting, is to have a place that you would dedicate to doing work from this course. And noticing in that journal reflections, thoughts, ideas, validations. I think I already see Nikki has put up the synchronicity. When you start working with the divine laws, the synchronicity, it becomes quite an amazing thing to start paying attention to. Is suddenly we start seeing symbols and signs and validations and things that happen for us all over. So I think, Nikki, you just said, I just bought the book by Diana Cooper, and then you saw the course, and there's synchronicity there. So noticing, really becoming present, and that's probably the most important thing with the laws, is asking us to pay attention, wake up, and stay present to what's going on around us and noticing it. So I really, really, really encourage you, if you want to get the most from this course, to dedicate a journal to this. And even if you don't journal every day, just capturing your thoughts and ideas that come up around that law. So all of you were part of the law of clarity last week. And so I'm going to ask you, you don't need to use the chat box. I'm going to ask you each, if you're willing to, and there's no have to's, musts or shoulds. If you don't want to, you just say pass. To just kind of pause and give a reflection, and very quickly, so not a long story, but just what's something that's still kind of processing for you from the law of clarity last week. If you can remember that far back, if you can remember to last Wednesday when we did the law of clarity, what is one thing that you are still aware of, or pondering on, or reflecting on, or becoming more attuned to? So I'm going to ask each of you, if you're willing to come on and just share something very quickly from that. You don't have to explain it, and we don't want to spend a lot of time on it. Just something that's standing out for you. So anybody willing to come online first? I know that's always difficult. And there is about 14 of us booked, so there's only a few here. Angela, you put up your hand. You went like this, so yeah. I assume that's you. Yeah.
So for me, what really resonated is the reflection, the personal reflection of what is blocking me to see things clearly.
Okay.
So what is my blockages, my things that I'm holding on that prevent me to see how things truly are?
Yeah. So it almost gives us a different lens, doesn't it? Like everything we look at, there's almost this opportunity to ask the question, what lens am I looking through it? And like, how
exactly.
can I see it?
Yeah. And I thought it was very powerful, like concept that like really reflecting on the entirety of also the energetic of the situation. What are the energy that they're blocking? Maybe they are my veil, or the kind of energetic charges that the situation has.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank
Who'd like to share next? Okay, Nikki.
So it's similar to Angela, but I've just been very aware of, like, when I'm in a situation, if I'm seeing it the way I am or the way it actually is. So it's because nothing is actually, you don't see anything the way it is. You see it. So that's been a huge thing for me.
So it becomes really interesting because we don't want to not trust ourselves, but we need to not get attached to our perspective either. And so it's an interesting perspective, isn't it?
Because it's like everything's happening to you, but it's not happening to you. You're also part of what's happening. So a bit more balance.
We really are. We really are. Sandra, is there anything you'd like to share?
Hi, yes. So it's actually been quite an interesting week with a lot of synchronicities. We moved to Kenya at the beginning of the year, which kind of wasn't in the plans, but we had to for my husband's work. And I've met a friend here, and she's also helped me put things into perspective as to what is important. It's your family, it's your health, it's your well-being, it's the fact that you're all together. Not all the other stuff, like you haven't moved and you're in lockdown in a strange country and that. And it's quite nice to get that different perspective and to clear away the emotional judgments so that you can actually start to see a situation clearly. So I think that for me has been the biggest eye-opener, the biggest aha moment this past week.
Well, beautiful, beautiful. So glad you're joining us. Cheryl, anything you want to add? I don't know if Cheryl's disappeared on us. All right, I'm going to continue. So you saw this slide last week and you've seen all the various dragonflies, and so it's just always useful to check in. So we're working on the law of flow or the law of surrender, whichever way you want to think of it tonight. But which other one calls you tonight? So just notice, pick one that kind of calls at you, because all laws work together. It's like this unique system that works together. So just notice which other ones call you tonight. And really there'll be a sort of image or a color or something that's going to grab your attention. Just to notice that and to see that. Anybody want to share which one's jumping out at you? Yeah. Attachment and grace, says Angela. Okay. Decree. You didn't even see it last week. So this one, yeah. Attachment and grace. So these two are standing out for Angela. Yeah. Let's see if any of you. Sandra, abundance again. Okay. So this one down here. All right. Cheryl, if there's one that stands out for you. And the reason I do that is really very intentionally for you to start noticing the patterns that are coming up for you, the synchronicity, and then relating one law to another. So as we go through it, even last week, you will see how clarity relates to another law and relates. So it's almost like an unfolding of like a rosette, and all these laws are going to intermingle. And so it's useful for you to start noticing which are the things that come up on repeat for you, that synchronicity thing that starts to happen for us again. Right, so flow. The law of flow, what are we talking about? So this is also called the law of surrender. Some of you would hear it spoken about as surrender, but the actual divine law is spoken about as the law of flow. And if I give you the statement of what it means, it says there, the law of flow is about accepting life as it is. So it's 5 little words that sound simple, but really probably one of the hardest things for us to do is to accept life as it is, and then allow it to flow. Is, we're going to spend a little bit of time working through different things around this tonight, but what are you holding on to that means it's stagnating and it can't flow? What needs to move? So the law of flow has got a lot to do with movement. And you'll see as we talk about it tonight, how that movement becomes something to become more and more aware of. To flow is to surrender, which is embracing a state of non-resistance, a state of non-resistance. And then act in alignment with life as it happens. So there's a concept called radical acceptance or radical surrender. And radical acceptance says the following thing: it's to live each minute as if it's exactly the way you chose it to be. So it doesn't matter what happens, your approach, your belief, your thought, your idea is, this is exactly what I wanted. So if there's traffic, this is exactly what I wanted. If there's, somebody hurts me, this is exactly what I wanted. So there's no resistance. I just allow it to be part of my experience. Now, even as I say that, you will notice a part of you that goes like, but it's not what I wanted, and it's not what I like, and it's not the way I want it to be. And there's that little part of you that's going to have a tantrum because this is not the way you thought it should be. And that sort of part of us that holds us in resistance is the part that we'll figure out a little bit about tonight. As I've said, the law of flow is about movement. Things need to move. Yeah? So even if we start last week with the law of clarity, towards the end of the law of clarity, I was talking about decluttering. And you'll see how these laws flow into each other and work with each other, is that, if I don't create space for something, nothing can come. So what needs to move? What needs to shift? What do I need to clean up? And then if I create space, something new is going to come in. And then I have some control of what that is. Because if I keep manifesting the same stuff, if I get rid of a whole lot of crap and I manifest a whole lot of new crap, well, we need to deal with your crap manifesting ability and rather change it to what it is that you're wanting to manifest. But it's movement. So think of Feng Shui. Feng Shui is all about movement of energy. Feng Shui has got a lot to do, and you'll see a lot of the Eastern philosophies coming through tonight that aligns with the law of flow. If you had to just look around your home right now, you can start to identify what is stagnating, what needs some movement, a spring clean, so to speak. It needs to be moved around. A friend of mine runs a crystal cottage, a crystal shop. Some of you know her, Nicolette. And I was doing a reading for her one day, and the crystals all came forward and said, we really love the fact that you move us around so much, because by moving, we get activated. By moving, we get, recharged. And so it's got this movement element to it. And then letting life move at its own pace. But this movement, this action is effortless. So when we're talking about movement, we're not talking about work. So I'm going to make that distinction. Moving something is, if I move it, how is it effortless? How do I just flow with it, as opposed to trying to make something be different to how it is? If a door doesn't open, it's not your door. And you can fight it and fight it and fight it. Or you can go with it and figure out what that's about. So just at that point, if we just pause there and as this introduction to starting to think about these things, what is standing out for you? What is the sort of awareness or thoughts that are coming up for you, just as you hear about the law of flow from this perspective? Anybody have any insights or reflections coming up for you at this point? You're welcome to type it, or if you'd rather speak, you can do that as well. You're more than welcome to just put your microphone off and speak. So Angela.
So for me, I resist change. I like to hold on to what I know, because even if it's crap, it's what I know.
Yeah.
So but I know I do it, but I do it anyway.
So that idea of comfort, yeah, that idea that
it's that familiarity, or yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful awareness, Nikki, is that in order to embrace flow, we need to embrace change as natural. That it's a very natural process, change, and this idea of resisting it is part of our challenge. Yeah. So just that awareness is useful. Angela, you say it is linked to attachment to something that prevents you from being in the flow. Absolutely. Absolutely. If I think something should be different to the way it is, then I'm in a state of resistance, because I don't think it should be like this. People often laugh at me and they say, well, I will make a statement as follows that comes from the divine, is that You are always exactly where you need to be. How do you know? It's because it's where you are. Like, you cannot be anywhere other than where you are, and you cannot be doing anything other than what you're doing. And you cannot be feeling anything other than what you're feeling. And you cannot be experiencing anything other than what you're experiencing. So the idea that it should be different is an idea. It's not reality. And this in itself perplexes us, because then how do I change anything? How do I move anything? And it's almost that paradox that once I embrace this, I have power. But the idea that it should be different, I should be somewhere else, I should be feeling something else, I should be doing something else, is the very thing that keeps us in a place of resistance. So Cheryl, do you want to share a little bit more about that? Accept life as it is bothers you. I love that. As what is reality. Do you want to share a little bit more around that? You're more than welcome to put your microphone on if it's easier.
If you say life is as it is, then it actually basically denies the fact that we're all an illusion and everything is an illusion, and it can be exactly as you want to create it to be. Can you give a little bit more of a view on that?
So when we say it is what it is, you say, yeah. but we kind of had this awareness last week that so many things are an illusion. So how do these two things come together if it's an illusion and it is what it is? So quite a lovely question, in the sense of, one of the things that as we go through this laws webinar, the thing we're going to kind of learn to get comfortable with is complexity. Like, complexity is our new friend, because the divine laws are very simple, but they're also, they're complex to the mind, because they have a whole lot of what we call paradoxes. Things that appear opposite, but are not necessarily opposite. So the best way I can describe that to you is that if I give you a diamond, if we had this amazing huge diamond, multifaceted at the top, if I am looking through one small part of that diamond, and I look through that, I can start to see that that is my perspective of the way I'm seeing things. So it is what it is. The minute I can accept that is what I'm seeing, it is what it is. But I can also step back and see it as a different perspective. And it's almost interesting that once I get to it is what it is, I detach from it needing to be right or wrong. I can then see what else it is, and what else is it, and what else is it. Okay. But it's almost the law of flow allows me to flow into what else is it, what else is it, what else is it. Whereas when I haven't accepted that there could be something else, if I haven't accepted what I'm seeing. So
okay.
Did that drop for you? Does that make sense for you? Perfect. Yay. Yay. Yeah. Perfect. I think who's just joined us? Somebody's just joined us. Hello, Leanne, you've just joined us, so welcome. I think you're around, so you're welcome to join us as we're going along. Okay, so these are going to be the important principles, and certainly in my life, the surrender thing has been the hardest thing for me too. It's been the law I've talked about the most. My deck of cards, the Lightwalker deck of cards, actually originally was called the Surrender to Your Soul deck of cards. My business was originally Surrender to Your Soul, because that was all the guidance I kept getting, is stop living your life defiant to that which calls you. Surrender to that which pulls at you. Surrender to that which you know to be part of your truth, rather than I don't want it, I don't like it, I shouldn't have it. And so surrender is it's a very interesting energy, because once you flow into it, it's amazing the miracles that unfold. But stepping into flow is, yes, we have to somehow convince ourselves of a whole lot of things that we need to do. So let's go through it a little bit more, and I'm going to take you through a couple of aspects around it. So let's just see. So I want you to think about a time that feels like flow for you. So if you kind of get a sense for yourself of Exactly. I do too, Nikki. We do get attached to our defiance. We think that that's power, but it's not. And you'll see that a little bit more tonight. Is I want you to all kind of think back, and if you can think in the sort of recent past or any time, that if you had a memory of what flow was like for you, kind of just were in the flow with life. And it could, even if it's just for 5 seconds, it's okay if you've only ever had it for that, is to just remember that time. Just remember what that was like for you. So what I would like you to do is, you can close your eyes if you'd like to, and I want you to fully remember that experience for yourself. Just notice every aspect of what that was like. And don't worry if your mind's going, oh, there wasn't really flow. If that's your best memory of flow, it's okay. So just go into, what does that flow experience feel like for you? And I just want you to become aware of all the aspects of it. What you feel like, what the world feels like, what your body's like, what your mind is like, what your spirit is like. Just allow yourself to kind of soften into it. And as it becomes a little bit clearer, I want you all to write down 3 words that describe this place for you. 3 words that describe this for you. You can do that on the chat box if you want, or for yourself, or both. What are 3 words you would use to describe this place, or this state, or this experience? Trust, light, ease, says Nikki. Joyous, natural, relaxed, says Sandra. Effortlessly, not attached to the outcome, light. So we're getting that light feeling again. Leanne, if you've joined us, you can also say happiness, working, bliss, all working. Exactly. I love that, Cheryl. Powerful, strong, get out of my way. So there's no doubt there. There's no like, it's just I know. So like, stop interfering. I can do this. So this becomes something to really start internalizing. You do know what this feels like. You do know this. You have been here. If I had to ask you the following question though, how did you get into that place? What needed to happen for you to get into flow? So just notice that. Notice if any thoughts come up for you around that. Notice if any insights or awarenesses come up. If I say to you, what did you have to do to get into flow? What was the 3-step process to get into flow? What was happening before, if anything? Just notice what you become aware of, and if you can find an answer to that question, you can share that. What did you need to do to get into flow? Give up. Yep. Whatever. Let me just try. Let me just go with it. Exactly right. It's called surrender, Nikki. Self-belief, knowing my purpose. So a sense of true conviction that this is like the way it is meant to be. Cheryl's got rebellion, obstacle, desire. Okay. I want to hear a bit more about that. Connected to myself, yin and yang balance. That's a beautiful way of putting it, Leanne, is that like everything seems to become integrated. That there would be like this, like, okay, well, you know, I might as well try this. I might as well go for it. I might as well, and that could be the rebellion that you're talking about, Cheryl. It's like there's almost like a, you know, what else is there to do? Like, you know, then we stop fighting and then we just go with it. So as we start to become aware of this, you can start to notice how your biggest challenge to flow is you. The biggest challenge to flow is the idea that it's something different to what seems like the natural thing to do, the next step to do. And the more scattered I am, the more in doubt I am, the more frustrated I am, the more seeking I am. And what I'm going to say about that is the more I seek an answer of fact, the less I'm going to be in a state of flow. And I'll explain that a bit more later on. But let's try this now. What does resistance feel like? So you might hypothetically have had moments of resistance in your life. They might come to you a little bit easier than the moments of flow. I want you to think of something you resist. What resistance feels like to you. I want you just to, the same way as you became aware of what flow feels like to you, is to become aware of what resistance feels like. What is that experience like for you? Just go into it, feel your body, your mind, your heart, your spirit. Just become fully aware, and at the same, when you've got it, you can get, what are 3 words that describe resistance for you? More primal, I love that, like fight or flight, not very rational. Rigid, oh, I love that. Agitated, not present. Denial, insurmountable, not. Stress, anxiety, confrontational. Okay. So you've now very beautifully got these 2 contrasting experiences. It's a very physical experience where you can start to see, this is what flow feels like to me, and this is what resistance feels like to me. And so if I'm approaching this with resistance, what's my process to go to flow? What's my thing that shifts it to flow? Because unequivocally, flow feels better, doesn't it? Like flow is a much easier approach, and probably easier on your body. You will live longer if you go into a state of flow. The state of resistance is a state of unease that causes dis-ease. So the more we live in a state of alignment, a state of flow, the more we're in a state of ease, and it's natural and it works. You know? And the trick with the law of flow is to practice that state as much as possible. So how do I go from a minute like that to 5 minutes like that, to half an hour like that, to an hour like that, to a day like that, to a week like that, to a month like that, whatever it is if I had to give you an exercise that you could start to practice if you wanted to, is you could reflect on each day and give a percentage of flow. What percentage of time was I in a state of flow today? So maybe today has been 45% flow, 55% resistance. Maybe another day is 0% flow and 100% resistance. And you can start to notice your own patterns. And what would I need to do to just make it a little bit more? How do I take something that's simple and start to feel flow for it? I would use examples like the traffic, but we don't have that much anymore. But COVID-19 gives us a lot of things to learn to flow with. A lot of things we don't like, by the way. A lot of things that we're resisting. But what if I just flowed with this? What if I just flowed with the lockdown? What if I just flowed with the laws? What if I flowed with it? What would unleash? What would I get? What would I become? So anybody having any thoughts or questions or comments coming up for you there, you can come online and just ask it or share it with you. You don't have to type it. Just what's coming up for anybody as I talk about this here. Anybody having any insights or resistance?
Taryn, just based on the webinar on Monday night, the flow really for me starts to fall in with the create and integrate, where you start to have that acceptance and you start to play with your experiences. So it actually links quite nicely together. And again, it's that synchronicity of learning as we go along, the courses. So thank you.
So it's a beautiful thing, Sandra. It's the webinar I did on Monday night, those of you that watched, which was about the emotional impact the pandemic's having. And so many people want to ask me, well, what must I do about my anger? Flow with it. You don't have to kill people. You don't have to hurt anybody. But you have to enter a state of non-resistance around it. And the more we can do that, the more we can actually do these things. But it's a very difficult thing for people because most of us want to do something, to fix something, rather than to embrace it. And remember I said the law of flow is about allowance. I allow it to be here. And even in the emotions thing, you quite rightly, I said name it, allow it, care for it, and then learn what to do with it. And so, yeah, this law of flow is exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. So Nikki, you're saying, I'm quite fearful of the unknown, a bit of a barrier to surrender. It is, and so I'm going to invite you to explore that a little bit more a bit later on. There's some things we're going to bring up specifically around it, and maybe what's valuable to start thinking about is what is actually known. Is anything really known? Everything is unknown, really. Every minute, I mean, you don't know what I'm going to say next. You don't know where we're going to go next. You don't know what's going to happen. It's all the unknown, and that's the cherishable place of creation. So the illusion of knownness is the thing that can sometimes keep us trapped, because then it's the idea that I know what's coming. Does that make sense, Nikki? Yeah. Cheryl, is it about keeping control too tight? Yes. There's this idea that if I control things, like if I, it's your exact thing, Nikki, if I'm in some form of knowing, then I can control it, and then I can make myself know what happens. But again, there's an illusion of control. Because what can we really control? The only thing we can control is our response. And so my response is either one of flow or resistance. These really are my two choices in life. Are you going to flow with this or resist it? And it's a difficult thing, because how do you stand up for things you don't agree with? How do you change the world? How do you make things different in a state of flow? And you'll see how you do now. We're going to talk about that a bit more. So Nadine, you've joined us, so I'm glad you're here. So feel free to participate and interact. I see you there. So welcome. We're kind of just in the middle of the chat, so feel free to connect in as you need to. Does that make sense, Nikki? Yeah. Tough place, eh? You need to understand the ego. The ego is the personality of us. The ego is the part of us that has developed coping mechanisms for life. So every time we've been hurt or we've faced some kind of rules or done something, our personality forms as a protective mechanism to deal with life. And that's what we call our ego. And the ego has one job. One job. It's a silly job, but it has one job: to keep you safe. And so the ego is constantly scanning what's dangerous. And anything new is dangerous. Anything I've never seen before is dangerous. And so it's trying to keep us safe. I don't know why, because we're all going to die anyway. But it's just trying to keep us safe. And its data points are incorrect. Its data points can only come from past hurt. The part of us that has faith never comes from the personality. That's a different part of us. So this part of you, Nikki, that wants to be in control, or, you know, have a sense of knownness, that's got a lot to do with the data point of pain from the past, which is real and it exists as part of our experience. Right, so let's move on, and you'll see Lao Tzu is somebody that I'm going to bring up. And Lao Tzu, there's a little bit of a debate as to whether Lao Tzu ever was a real person or not, but the Tao Te Ching is a very real source of beautiful wisdom, and whether it's Lao Tzu or somebody else who wrote it, we don't always really know. But this is a statement that's in the Tao Te Ching and in his information. That which offers no resistance overcomes the hardest substances. That which offers no resistance can enter where there is no space. So I'm going to say that again. That which offers no resistance overcomes the hardest substances. That which offers no resistance can enter where there is no space. So what does that inspire in you? What do you feel or sense or get when you read that or listen to that? What comes up for you? Because this is essentially talking about flow. So Nadine, feel free to also just interact as we start connecting in. Can't do wrong. Nikki, like water. It can get around, under, in between. It's powerful. Great awareness, like water. Nadine, for me, the fear of the unknown is also linked to the fear of making the wrong decision. Yeah. Similar thing, yeah. It's a control thing. So we were saying a little bit earlier about how we can't get it wrong, but it doesn't feel like that. Fear of unknown attached to outcome. Exactly right. So there's a statement when I did coach training in NLP, there's a statement that says the person with the most flexibility exercises the most influence. The person with the most flexibility exercises the most influence. And that's really another beautiful way of saying what's on the slide here, is that if I'm inflexible in my thoughts and my ideas, my beliefs, then everything you say, I'm going to argue with you about. Have you ever met those people that argue with you? It doesn't matter what you say, they argue with you. And the fact that they're so rigid in their idea, so rigid in their opinion, they become people you have to manage, not people that influence you. And so one of the ways to learning to engage with people and start to become, you know, influential in the world. So remember I was talking about how do we actually stand up for the things we want to stand up for, is if I'm flexible in my thought, flexible in my ideas, I have more ability to connect with people that I disagree with and more influence to engage with them, more ways of having dialogues rather than arguments. And so when I'm not resistant to you, I'm not fearful of you upsetting me, I can engage with you and I can go in between all the places we've never been before. And this is how we create shift. Nadine, Lao Su offers possibilities which I cannot even imagine. Yeah, exactly right, Nadine. Beautiful awareness. I used to be like that during my PhD. All right, so let's play a little bit with this. Let's take this thing, and we've been talking about this feeling of flow and resistance, and you're starting to understand your own awarenesses around this. And this statement we're going to come back to again. That which offers no resistance overcomes the hardest substances. That which offers no resistance can enter where there is no space. I love the point of where there is no space, because that's an illusion. That there's nothing else here. There's nowhere to go. If there's the awareness that there's always a space in between, there's always a way to get in between something. That's energy. That's spirit. That's grace. That's divine intervention. That's miracles. The idea that there's nowhere else to go is an illusion. Where's the space in between? And if I'm soft enough, if I'm in no resistance, I will find my leverage point. I will find a way forward. So I remember once somebody coming and sitting for a reading, and I hear these words often. It's most people who sit down with me, it's the first thing they say is, I'm stuck. And the guides came forward one day and said, please tell them they're not. And I said, well, they say they're stuck. If they're stuck, they're stuck. They said, nobody's stuck. It's an illusion. You cannot be stuck. The idea of being stuck means you have not entered into the idea of your power. Because the softness will mean you can move forward. And so there's no idea of stuckness in divine perspective. The law of flow says nothing's stuck, everything can move. Yeah. Exactly right, Nadine, spaces between. Yeah. So one of the greatest ways to understand the law of flow is to understand the earth and nature. Yeah. When we just start understanding, you know, day follows night and night follows day. We never panic about this. You know, when the moon goes down, it comes up at night, we don't go, oh God, will we ever see the sun again? How do we know it's going to come back? There's a sense of cycle. There's a sense of it's just going to flow. Yeah, winter follows, yeah, and then we get spring. And when the leaves leave the tree, nobody's panicking, thinking like this is the end of the world as we know it. It's going to flow. It's going to regenerate. It's going to do its thing. When we look at endings and beginnings, and if you truly can look at the earth at this point in time, if we can flow with this, there's a regeneration that's going to come through the process of all the pain that we're experiencing, what the world is going through. And so nature and the elements around us have this profound way of teaching us about flow. But as Nikki pointed out earlier, the most important one that teaches us about flow is water. If you want to understand the law of flow, you've got to truly internalize the relationship of water, what water is like, and the true nature of water. That water has existed on earth forever, and all the water that is here is the water that's always been here, and the water that will always be here. It just moves. It doesn't change. We can't get more water on earth. It just changes form. It just moves around. It just goes where it needs to go. It just does what it needs to do. And so we have this awareness of water. And so water is a teacher to us about flow. And when we truly embrace water as being a teacher of flow, we are able to start internalizing our water element, the element of us that is able to flow. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do an exercise, and it's going to be something that may feel a little strange, is I'm going to go through a series of pictures. As I put up the picture, I want you can write the number, so whichever number it is, and I want you to write down something about your life that picture represents. So that could be something you are dealing with in your life. It could be a person. It could be a memory. It could be an aspect of yourself. It could be whatever comes up. But every picture that comes up, and to give you some warning, there are 15. So it is a little bit of a longer exercise. It's to just flow with it. Do not be in a state of resistance to this exercise. It's a state of flow exercise. Is as the picture comes up, I'm not going to leave it up very long, but I want you to write down the first thing that comes up for you. The first thought, the first memory, the first person, the first thing that comes up for you. I just want to see here, scientists told me a story about a drop of water. So if we've got some time just now, Cheryl, we'd love to hear that. So if we can come back to it after this exercise and you can share that with us, that would be awesome. Okay, so you're ready. So you've got a piece of paper and a pen, so you're going to write down and just make sure you track the numbers and what you say. And there's no right or wrong, so don't analyze it, just allow it to be. Nikki, do you need a pen? All right, so you're all okay to do this. So, okay, picture number one. And like I said, I'm not going to leave it very long. Sorry, I'm going to come back to that. It's picture number one. Picture number two. Picture number three. Picture number four. Picture number five. Six. Seven. Eight. Nine. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. 15. Right. So these have been the 15 pictures you've seen, and you have some words describing these that you've written down there. So what was that exercise like before we go into in any depth of reflection? But what was it like to do that? What stood out for you? What were the awarenesses? So if anybody wants to speak, you can just put your microphone on and come on and just tell me, what was that like? What happened for you as you were doing that exercise? You don't have to give me what you wrote down for each of them. We'll come to that just now. What's the awareness you have from that? Anybody have any? Sandra, a range of emotions. Okay. We had all these emotions happen as we went through them. Other awarenesses? Nikki?
For me, it's just how quick a thought or an emotion or a memory or something comes up. Like, they're quite emotive, even though they're not really anything that well, except the Victoria, no, it's not even, those are the Niagara Falls, but they're really emotive, that you've never really seen them before.
Okay. So how water just brings up that emotion straight away. Yeah. Okay.
For me, it was interesting how each picture I felt in my body.
Okay.
So, and also like the memories, but like when there was ice or snow, I felt cold.
Okay. Okay. So there's this real connection between our physical and emotional experience that water just holds us to. So that statement where we said water shapes us, can you start to see that that's an experience you have? Is that you've been shaped by your life, you've been shaped by these memories, and water evokes that for you. Yeah. Any other awarenesses? Any other insights that comes up for you? So if you had to look at that list you've got there, I want you to notice which is the one that's the most surprising to you. And you can also notice the one that you're most curious by. And then notice which one you're most resistant to. So every single one of these things brings up sort of a perspective of myself, a perspective of my life, a perspective of what's going on for me. And when I look at these 15 pictures, and I could give you a lot more, we stopped at 15 because like, you know how many pictures of different kinds of water you can get. Like, it's unbelievable. And we could sit here for hours doing this exercise. And the truth is, every single one of these pictures is the same thing. Every single one of these pictures is the same thing. It's water. In essence, in the core of all of it, there is nothing different in any of these pictures. Yet we have a different experience of it. We have a different relationship with it. And when I want this to be that, and when I want that to be this, and when I want this to be that, I'm missing out on what the gift of that is, or the gift of this is, or the gift of this is that each of these in the flow of life is an important part of our experience. And I can want everything to feel like this, but sometimes I need this, because otherwise, what's the point of it? So this is harmony, balance, flow, the things that come from us having multiple ways of experiencing this one thing called life. But in the essence of it, it's all the same. And now I can make this good or bad. I could make this right or wrong. I could make this I like or I don't like, but that's judgment and stops me from flowing with it. Because once I pay attention to what it is, I can then choose what to do with it. I'm going to say that again. Once I pay attention to what it is, I'm then empowered to choose what to do with it. But if I think it should be something else, I'm not going to be able to do anything. Does that make sense when I say that? So if we start to think about this, then what does this teach us about flow? What does this exercise this experience, these images of water, what does it teach you about flow? If you were to sit here and say, okay, what I've learned about flow is, what is it that you have learned about flow from this exercise? How would you be able to draw parallels from this water exercise to the law of flow? You're more welcome. Accept the situation as it is. If we go back here, every single one of these is unique and valuable. It just is what it is. This answers your question, Cheryl, earlier about it is what it is, but there's always multiple layers to that. Looks like different things in each situation. Absolutely. Stop and observe and stand in awe. Cheryl, that is beautiful. Like, that is really one of the greatest gifts of the law of flow, is you see the opportunity each moment offers. You see what each state gives you, as opposed to, I don't like it. Who cares? It's still there. It's raining. Whether you want it to be raining or not, it is. The other awarenesses that come up from that. So a little bit earlier, I'm just going to go back in the presentation. Sorry, because I didn't show this to you, and then we'll come back through these beautiful images. And even as I go through them quickly, you're going to have feelings. Water is the softest thing, yet it can penetrate mountains and earth. This shows clearly the principle of softness overcoming hardness. The law of flow is a softness. It's a feminine energy. It's a graceful energy. When water comes to a rock, it doesn't go, damn rock, it's not supposed to be there, how unfair, who put the rock there, and lets it go on a tirade on social media about why the rock is there and whose fault it is. It just moves through it, around it, with it. And water always flows, always flows. It will break things when it just flows. So the ability to start noticing that when you soften, go into a place of non-resistance, surrender, you will find the void, you will find the place, you will be able to penetrate and move mountains. This is what miracles are, is I stop fighting and I start flowing and I move with things as they are. Going through your pictures and taking you on an emotional journey again. It's not very fair of me. So that which offers no resistance overcomes the hardest substances. That which offers no resistance can enter where there is no space. Exactly right, Nadine. We can learn from everything. So if you had to take where you're at in your life right now, how can you flow with it? It doesn't mean you like it. It doesn't mean you asked for it. It doesn't mean you want it. It's just there. What do you need to flow with? What is it that's been asked in that moment? And that brings us to one of the most important principles around the law of flow, and that's called Wu Wei. Now, if you do any of the work that is in the Eastern philosophy in Taoism, there's a principle called Wu Wei, or Wei Wu Wei, if you want to get very exciting. Wei Wu Wei, it's quite a fun thing to say. You can do that. And Wu Wei is the art of effortless action. It's the ability to move like water. So if you've ever watched anybody do Tai Chi or any of those very graceful kind of things, they move with the breath. They move with the body. It's not like a sport that's about resistance. It's not like rugby. And even in rugby, they teach you go with, like, don't go against the scrum. Go with the scrum, because you go against it, you're going to get hurt. So it's this ability to flow with it, to move with it, and to look for that void, look for that opportunity, get soft, move in, and then you can influence. And Wu Wei is the art of effortless action. Now, if I had to explain that to you in a little bit of a different way, many of us are used to taking a lot of action from a place of adrenaline. So we have to toughen up to do the stuff that we need to do. You know? But when you soften into it, vulnerability, moving into this is my fear. I don't have to fight my fear, I have to soften into my fear. I don't have to fight my anger, I need to soften into my anger. The art of Wu Wei says move into it with effortless ease. Just to flow into this, into the art of doing without doing. So if you had to all think of something in your life right now that you're trying to change, that you don't like, that you want it to be different, which is okay. How do you flow with that? How do you do what's next effortlessly? Whenever you're doing what's next, it's effortless. When you're trying to do what's in the future, that's always difficult, isn't it? But if I do what's next to be done? Then it just becomes an effortless movement. Yeah. If the next thing to do is to make the bed, then let's do that without resistance. If the next thing to do is to make breakfast, then let's do that without resistance. If the next thing to do is to answer those emails, let's do that without resistance. It's a very present moment activity. And you can go and have a look if you want. You can go and look up a lot of Wu Wei meditations. I'm going to be taking you through a meditation shortly. But this art of flowing, of taking a breath and doing what's next. And just doing what's next. And allowing yourself that is the pathway to miracles, is acting. Because what's very interesting is when you're in resistance, you're often not in action. You'll be in procrastination, or you'll be in defiance, or you'll be in fighting, or you'll be in whinging, or you'll be in complaining, or you'll be in moaning, or you'll be in thinking, or you'll be in doing. It's not acting. No action here. It's a stagnant energy. So you'll see this symbol here, and it's very funny. When I did this dragonfly, it's the only dragonfly card I don't like, by the way. It's the only card I've wanted to throw away continuously, and I keep getting the message that this is the card of surrender. So embrace it the way it is. And it's very funny for me. But you'll see that there's this symbol here which is called an enso. This is an enso. And enso is a meditative practice. And you can go and have a look at if you want to, but if you look at the symbology of this card and start to look at your own ability to work with symbology. And enso is in an Eastern meditative philosophy where they dip a paintbrush in ink and you have to make a circle in one movement. And whatever it is, you leave it be. And you keep doing it in one movement. And that meditation of making these circles in one movement. And sometimes it's closed and sometimes it's open and sometimes it's got these marks and these things. But that this is a perfect moment in time. And it's embracing the perfection of the imperfection. And it's a really beautiful thing to do, even if you just have a paintbrush with water paint on it and you just do one stroke. If you go and have a look at how they do it, they often get these huge, big horsehair brushes, like huge bloody things, and they're making one circle. But then you must leave it alone. Don't try fix it. Don't touch it up to make it perfect. Don't throw it away. It's a perfect mark of a moment in time. And that's why this law of flow dragonfly has got the enso on it. It's also got in the background the chakana. The chakana is the symbol here that you see in the background. Those of you that want to do sacred geometry, I teach you all these in the sacred geometry course. The chakana, I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but it's an ancient Peruvian symbol. It's a really, really beautiful symbol about the four directions and honoring life in all its forms and honoring everything in the way it is. And in the center, there's this opening, which is a portal to see newness, to see things differently. So this dragonfly, the one I don't like, it's very meaningful in this way, that we've got the Chakana with this portal for change, with this dragonfly and this Enso, this perfect moment in time. And these, I give you all of these because the symbology in these cards are reminders to you, and the intention behind all of this is to give you the tools that you can start to work with for you to embrace the law of flow in your life. And so maybe every day you can meditate with one Enso. Just what's that Enso of today? And what do I need to embrace? What's the beauty and the imperfection of that moment? How do I surrender to that and flow with that? So I have also given you, and you will get this in your, it'll be on the portal tomorrow, this is a mandala, a Wu Wei mandala that I've given you that you can color in. So this is a mandala that I channeled a while ago around the principle of Wu Wei. And so again, if you'd like to meditate on what we've done tonight, you can print this out and color it in. It's going to frustrate you because when you look at this, it looks like it's all symmetrical, but it's not. And so everything goes a little bit wonky somewhere. And so embracing things as they are. So it's a really, really beautiful exercise if you're wanting to enter into this energy and practice this art of the law of flow, is to work with this mandala that you can work with. But to wrap up tonight, we're going to do a meditation that is going to be guided by Archangel Jules. Archangel Jules is the archangel of the oceans, archangel of water. It's not a very well-known archangel, an archangel that really is here about elevating the water for ascension. And I thought that I would be working with Archangel Nathaniel around the law of flow, but he was very clear it's Archangel Jules that is the archangel that wants to connect with you all in this journey. The other archangel that you can work with that has come forward to support in the law of flow is the Archangel Aquariel. So Aquariel is also an archangel that aligns with water. And Aquariel works with the higher heart chakra, the thymus chakra. So it's very turquoise in energy. Archangel Jules has got this bluish, greenish energy around him. So he is going to lead us through a meditation. I never know at this point what's going to happen, so we're going to do the meditation. But the crystals that have come forward to support you in the law of flow, if you have it, you can work with it now. The one is ocean jasper, so this is an ocean jasper, that clearly the relationship with oceans. The other is a crystal called Larimar. This is Larimar. Both of these are known as Atlantean crystals. And then the third crystal that you could work with if you want is aquamarine. So aquamarine links very closely to Aquariel. If you don't have any of these crystals, you don't need to have them. You're welcome to work with any crystals. So I realize it's 25 past. Are you all okay if it's probably about 10 minutes of meditation, so we'll go slightly over? Are you all okay with that? If anybody, sorry, I really do try to get these things on time. Okay. So anybody have any questions or anything that's coming up for them? Anything you need to say to get off your mind before we go into doing the meditation? I'm wanting to record it for you so I can put it separately. Anybody got anything you want to say? Okay. So like I said, it's probably about 10 minutes. And you can just relax into the current moment and let yourself just flow with the experience. So sorry, I'm just setting up. I would like to record this for you separately so that I can give you, so on the portal then what you'll have is you'll have the recording, but you'll actually have the meditation separately as a voice note. So you can get to it easier if you want to do it again. Right. You all ready? Everybody okay? No? Cheryl has disappeared, but I assume she's there. Yes. Okay, got you. I found you. Okay. All right, so take a minute and let yourself just explore all that you've learned tonight. Just allow yourself, as you close your eyes, and connect into the current moment and into your body and into the energy of this experience that you've been going through tonight. Just let your mind wander around all that you've been listening to around the law of flow. Just flow with your thoughts. Follow them. Follow your thoughts as it meanders around your mind. And as you let your thoughts just flow in whichever way is natural for them, letting your mind grapple with anything that's been triggered for it. Become aware of your breath, the flow of your breath, in and out and around you. Just watch your breath. Notice it. Flow with it. Play with it. You can't stop the flow of breath. It just moves. And as you settle fully into this moment, allowing yourself to surrender to the imperfection of the now. Just notice your entire experience. And as you notice, become aware of your body. Become aware of your skin, this layer containing physical form. As you become aware of your skin, just become aware of a part of your skin, maybe your hand or your arm. Just become aware that there's skin on every part of you. And just hone in your energy to a part. And as you become aware of that part of your skin, become aware of the pores in your skin. Tiny little vessels holding everything together. As you become aware of the tiny little pore on your skin, I want you to focus all your energy on that pore, on that tiny little pore. Imagine that pore as an opening for you to flow through. Flow through your skin to inside of you, gently and naturally. And as you move in through that pore, you become aware of a network of vessels inside of you, flowing, liquid flowing everywhere, blood flowing, water flowing. Let yourself just notice how everything flows inside of you. Without instruction, without haste, without interference, somehow everything's organized. Their entire system within your body flows naturally, easily, logically. As you follow that flow, you end up in your heart space. You allow yourself to move through a magical portal out of your body into the oceans of Earth. Just flowing naturally out of this place into the next. And you find yourself in the oceans of life, the oceans of Earth. And as you become naturally acclimatized to where you're at, you start to look around you and see how everything is flowing. The water's moving, fish are moving, plants moving, everything's flowing, moving at its own pace in its most natural way. There's no resistance, there's no drama. There's no anger, there's no difficulty, just flow. As you float around, playfully engaging with everything, just floating and moving and flowing naturally in harmony and in alignment with all around you. You find yourself with Archangel Jules, who presents himself to you in this place. He's got a cheeky smile on his face. Very glad to see you in flow. He wants you to notice how much energy you waste being out of flow. How much of your life force you give to things that don't deserve it. How resistance is draining you of your light, of your spark. He wants to remind you of your ease and your grace. Your naturalness. He shows you something that you have been resisting. He brings it into the foreground of your mind. He shows you the impact this is having on you. And he shows you how to make it move forward, how to take action so that it flows. What do you need to embrace? What do you need to allow? He gives you the gift of insight. As he prepares you to come back to the here and now, he wants to leave you with a gift, a message, an image, a thought, an idea, a perspective, a gift he wants to give you to bring back to your life. Open yourself to receive that gift. And once you feel you have it, you can flow back through the water into your heart, through your body, out through your pores, into the here and now. You can move your hands and your feet and come back to this current moment. Right, so if you're still awake, go online. It's always hard to meditate at this time of night. Well, that's my thought anyway. Does anybody want to share anything that came up for you through that meditation? Anybody have anything that came up for you that you would like to share? That was the hottest angel I have ever seen. Well, it doesn't have to be deep. I think that's awesome. Like maybe that's what he wanted to see. Anybody else? Everybody else is like, I didn't get that version. Anybody else have anything that came up for you that you want to share? Cool. So we'll post the meditation as well, and you can do it repetitively if you want to. Just notice this idea of flowing. Angela, something come up for you?
When you said about the present, it made me think, oh, that's what it's all about. If you feel like you're holding the present already, you wouldn't be looking for other options. You wouldn't be searching for other everything. You already have it.
Yes. Oh, isn't that beautiful?
Mm.
Now, Cheryl, that is a very big word that I'm not sure I know what it means. Sopophoric. You teach me a new word, which is awesome. Do you want to share with us, Cheryl?
Sleepy. Soporific means something that sends you off to sleep.
Oh, okay. You're all sleepy. Oh, that's lovely. Okay. So, as you kind of all go off to sleep, I'm going to leave you with these words from Tasha Silver. Tasha Silver has the most amazing book around the surrender principles. She's got a book called Outrageous Openness. And then also Change Me Prayers is a book that she's got. I would really recommend her work if this is something you're wanting to explore. Really, really beautiful words that help you shift your consciousness and align yourself with the state of flow and surrender. And this is one of her prayers that I leave you with tonight. It says, change me, divine beloved, into one who rides the tide happily, even when all kinds of stuff don't exactly make sense yet. Let me live in the now, embracing the unknown, and relax peacefully into the unfolding, knowing all the pieces of the puzzle will fall into place at the right time and not a moment before. Guide me in the right actions and the right time, and fill me with patience and faith. I am yours, you are mine, we are one, all is well. And so I offer you that prayer as a prayer for you to practice, a prayer for the law of flow, And words shift reality. So when you practice these words, if you feel like you're in a state of resistance, learn how to play with these. And she's got other beautiful ones. You can go and look her up. So another one of hers that is beautiful is, let that which comes come, and let that which must go go. All is well. We are one. I am safe. So on that note, embrace life. It is here to teach you and serve you and open you up to the gift of it. And I hope that you've enjoyed tonight, and I will see you soon. So take lots of care. Anybody want to say anything before we end off tonight? No? Good. Good. All right. Well, the recording will be up tomorrow, and we'll chat soon. Sending you all lots of love. Namaste.